welcome to Last Man Standing. My name is Trent, and is the Roman Reigns heel turn working? Short answer, I don't think so. But if you want the longer answer, well, stick around. So Roman Reigns has been undefeated, well, hasn't been pinned since December of 2019. Do you remember? That was the dog food feud with Baron Corbin. Flattering image there. And basically, ever since then, Roman Reigns has been protected beyond belief. He went off TV for a bit at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. Then he returned and immediately won the Universal Championship 7 days after The Fiend just regained the title, which is, oh dear. It's also pretty sobering that in the match that Roman Reigns won the title back, two of the men that he fought are no longer with the company. Quite a sobering thought. But I'm going to stop before I make myself sad. But upon his return, Roman Reigns didn't come alone. He came with a brand new attitude, brand new shirt that said, "Wreck everyone and leave." And he also came with a little walrus, it seems. Paul Heyman aligning himself with Roman Reigns, officially confirming Roman Reigns' heel turn. He started becoming a little more protective. He started immediately kind of gunning for the top prize in the company, and he did so by humbling his cousin Jey Uso, breaking his back and making him humble a Bubba. And then he ran roughshod on guys like Kevin Owens, Edge, Daniel Bryan, Finn Balor, Cesaro, John Cena, before eventually capping off his whole "no one can beat me" tour with the biggest WrestleMania match of all time against Brock Lesnar, capping off their trilogy of crap WrestleMania matches that no one ever wants to see ever again. Because why would you want to do it again? During this time, I think a lot of people have either looked at Roman Reigns now as the unified, both holding the Universal and WWE champion. They've either looked at him with a bunch of praise, or they looked at him through a negative lens. Now, this is completely subjective, but I personally don't think the Roman Reigns experiment is working. I mean, the same could have been said like 7 years ago when he was obviously being pushed down our throats every week. But like, I think there's more conversation involved this time. Upon Roman Reigns' return in 2020, he's been protected beyond belief. He is basically the face of the company, which is something Vince McMahon has always wanted. But I think there's a few issues with how they've kind of presented him since his return that I think have kind of snowballed over time and created even bigger problems for the company. First of all, the very moment Roman Reigns came back, they immediately put him in for the title the following week. Now, first off, it was dumb how they booked it. SummerSlam happened 1 week, and then the very next week they were doing Payback, which if you're going to build a pay-per-view event, don't book it a week after the bigger of the two pay-per-view events. SummerSlam's a big four, Payback is not. So that was kind of stupid the way they did that. But Roman Reigns had literally just came back, and other than attacking both The Fiend and Braun Strowman at the end of their match and turning heel, he didn't really do anything else to kind of claim stakes to the championship. Again, I feel like if maybe Payback had been spaced out just a few more weeks and we got more of a build, then maybe Roman Reigns could slowly kind of get back to the title. But at the same time, you know, it's just, it still would be a leap in logic that Roman Reigns has been gone all this time, and immediately he's being thrust in the title picture. Like, I get they do that with superstars all the time, but I'm not saying, like, usually when they do that, they kind of have them go through, like, a few obstacles here and there before they get back to the title. Now, granted, Roman Reigns is a different kind of villain than we've seen before on WWE television. He's not the kind of villain who cowardly cheats, although we are going to get to that in a second. He was more or less kind of coming in and conquering everything in his path. Which begs the question, number 2 problem, why is he now being booked as a generic heel? Roman Reigns came in and proclaimed himself the tribal chief and the head of the table. He's supposed to be this unstoppable juggernaut badass who can't lose to everybody, and yet for some reason, 9 times out of 10, he needs help from either the Usos, Paul Heyman, or he needs to cheat. And if he does cheat, then he'll lose by disqualification or count out or something. So he has lost some matches technically, but nothing by like pinfall or submission. Like, nothing concrete. When Roman Reigns' heel turn first started and he was going up against Jey Uso, who I thought was kind of a weird pick, but at the same time I knew they were going to do something with the family drama, It started off great. Like, I loved the melodramatic family drama that was going on between the Usos and Roman Reigns. He was kind of basically trying to get his cousin to fall in line until eventually Jay was like, okay, please stop beating me up. I'll join you, all right? Just leave me alone. But, like, literally after that, they just kind of went back to generic heel booking, in my opinion. Like, at the Royal Rumble 2021, let's be honest, Kevin Owens won the Universal Championship. The referee really should have counted to 10, but for some reason he stopped counting because Paul Heyman was going to free Roman Reigns from his handcuffs, which is not how last man standing matches work. I almost said last man standing. Make sure to subscribe, people, because, you know, Tyler's going to appear under your bed when you're sleeping. It's scary. Just do it, all right? Subscribe! Subscribe! But if they had kept on keeping Roman Reigns as a super dominant heel who eventually needs someone at the top to beat him, then, yeah, you know, case closed. Like, that's how you book it. But instead, they've kind of gone back to having Roman Reigns the generic cowardly heel who needs outside interference or other factors at play to help him win his matches. He would show up late to his matches until it was beneficial to him. See, you know, the payback triple threat, or right after Daniel Bryan won the Elimination Chamber match, he would need, you know, the Usos or Paul Heyman to interfere in his matches, like, you know, WrestleMania, the biggest stage of them all, where you're trying to get this brand new supervillain over. And my dog is throwing up in the other room, so that's fun. Get WrestleMania when you're trying to showcase this brand new supervillain. Like, look, guys, it's that guy you didn't like from like 7 years ago. Here he is. Are you liking him yet? Are you liking him yet? But if you're trying to showcase him as this brand new, you know, unstoppable monster, why did Jey Uso feel the need to come in and super kick everybody before Roman Reigns eventually, you know, overtly pinned both Edge and Daniel Bryan to kind of negate them from being top guys ever again? Like, I feel like the booking of that was really weird, especially when you consider the fact that both world champions who walked into WrestleMania walked out with their titles, meaning that both world champions were heels, which I felt like maybe this... It's weird. I don't know. Also, there's also something to be said about the third problem, that Roman Reigns is starting to become maybe too powerful. I mean, again, he's lost here and there because of disqualification or something like that, but he hasn't really suffered, like, a visual loss in some time. I get it, you're trying to protect your biggest cash cow at the moment, but, you know, maybe sprinkle in, like, a believable loss or two. Maybe to kind of shock the audience and make them think, oh, maybe this person can get the job done when they get to Roman Reigns. But if you constantly steamroll over everybody and then put someone up against Roman Reigns to face them, we're not going to believe it, because at that point, what's the purpose? Like, we already know they can't beat him, so, like, why bother? It's just weird how they've handled it, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Like, I get trying to book an undefeated monster. You know, people got into Goldberg's thing when he was at his peak. But the thing about Goldberg is that on his first night in the company, he didn't win the world title. Like, he chased the title and eventually got to the point where his undefeated streak encompassed his character so much that he eventually won the title. And then it was superstar after superstar stepping up to him. I think he was, in that regard, a little more believable as a monster, because they would keep those competitors far away from each other and keep the matches fresh. So that way, at that point, you could say, hey, maybe this person does have a shot at beating Goldberg, because we haven't seen them face off, and, you know, this person is just as powerful as Goldberg. Stun gun not included, of course. But with Roman Reigns, he's practically, well, I don't want to use the word buried, but he's definitely destroyed the momentum of many individuals. You know, Edge, he's not probably at a spot to challenge for a world title. He is a Hall of Famer and a bona fide legend. So, like, if he wants a world title match, he probably could get one. But, like, Roman Reigns beat him, like, clean. I believe 3 times, if I'm not mistaken. Twice, my bad. Daniel Bryan's not in the company anymore, so he can't challenge for it. Cesaro's not in the company anymore, which is sad. Seth Rollins can't challenge. It's like, well, for Seth's a tricky one. I feel like he's probably the most logical choice now that Cody's out. Oh yeah, Cody's out, but he never got to face Roman, so I don't know if I should count him there. Kevin Owens is not in a believable spot to challenge anymore. Finn Balor definitely isn't. Sorry, Finn. You know, it's like they've run through so many different contenders now that it's just, where do we go from here? You either start committing yourself to building someone up to face Roman and eventually dethrone him, or you keep down the same path of having Roman regularly beat and humiliate them and crush their momentum at every turn, and then we're supposed to act surprised when they don't win. Like, I'm filming this before Riddle is facing Roman Reigns for the title on SmackDown, and usually when they put that stipulation that you're not allowed to challenge for the title as long as so-and-so is still the champion, it usually means that they're probably going to win the title, but in case of Riddle, I don't know if they're going to pull the trigger on him. I would be amazed if they did. Just trade the Undisputed Championship on a random episode of SmackDown. But it would probably be short term. Like, Roman would probably get the belt back, but, like, imagine the reaction. But it probably won't happen because, you know, they're going to squash Riddle's momentum and then he's going to go feud with The Miz or something like that. No disrespect to The Miz, but that's usually what happens with these sort of things. Problem number four is how they've been treating Roman as a heel. Matter of fact, how they've been treating the whole family dynamic as a heel. The Bloodline are the most important act on WWE television. Now, for some people, that, again, it excites them and bores others. Because, you know, when the Bloodline do get knocked off and they have all their championship gold taken away from them in individual matches, eventually it's going to get a huge reaction. But in the meanwhile, we got to watch team after team and superstar after superstar lose and lose and lose because, you know, we don't really have too many top contenders, and we gotta start the process of either building someone or having someone that they've already beaten step up to them, and, you know, make it illogical why they would beat them because they've already been beaten. I'm starting to confuse myself here. Like, the Bloodline's starting to get maybe too, like, big for their britches, you know? Like, they're at the forefront of every show practically, but they're hardly on either program. You know, the Usos have been on more so than Roman Reigns, which Roman Reigns, fun fact, has not defended either title for over 60 days. And last I checked, there was a make-believe BS rule that champions have to defend their titles within a 30-day period, or else they'd be stripped of their titles. So, you know, unless, you know, Roman Reigns is going to become the very person that he hates in the form of Brock Lesnar, dun, 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 dun. I don't know what that was. You know, maybe have him prove that he's the titan he claims to be. If he wants to be the head of the table, maybe he should be on TV a little more regularly and prove to people and remind people why he is the head of the table. Instead, he signed a part-time deal, meaning that he's not going to be on TV that much, which means he's going to show up tonight, crush Riddle, and then walk away with the titles, which is stupid. Like, that, I don't think that's how they should book it, but that's probably how they're going to do it, because it's not Vince McMahon. He's stepped down, but that's a story for another time. Tee-hee. If we're going to talk about the family dynamic, how about we talk about that angle that WWE just dropped? AKA, the most interesting part of this entire storyline, that, you know, the Usos were unwilling henchmen to Roman Reigns. Did we just forget about that? Like, I'm not the only one that remembered that, right? Like, Jey Uso originally started out hating Roman Reigns and was eventually forced into working for him because he just didn't want to get beat up anymore. And then it looked like Jimmy Uso was going to come back to television and kind of remind his brother, hey, remember, we're still the good guys. But that's not what happened. Jimmy just came back to television, and then they both started acting like generic evil henchmen who started helping Roman win his matches and whatever. What have you. What have you. I think it'd be more interesting if they played up the fact that the Usos are unwilling to help Roman. They're not loyal to him. They just do so out of fear. But right now they're kind of being treated as just his goons. And it's depressing. And then let's get to issue number 5. Every title, except for the Intercontinental, US, and the women's belts, what have you, they are all on the Bloodline. Which means that they're going to be on every show, and they're going to encompass everything. Do you remember when Triple H was World Heavyweight Champion, and all of Evolution had belts? It's pretty much gotten to that point, except whether they're not just on Raw, they're on both shows because they hold both belts for both those shows. So they're the most important act in WWE, which is not a good thing because you have to kind of keep them interesting on a consistent and regular basis. In my opinion, I don't think that the Bloodline is that interesting because they walk in, they win, and then we leave, and we don't really see them that much. I don't know, maybe I'm just yelling at a wall and yelling into the void because I want to get this off my chest. But no, I don't think Roman Reigns is the success that that WWE wanted him to be. I don't think that his heel turn is working out as great as it could have been. Like, there was a lot of potential when it first started. And I loved the soap opera elements of it, the kind of family storytelling between them. But it's gotten to the point where Roman has been champion for over 2 years, and he's gotten another belt to add to his collection, which means that, you know, the same issues that we've had before, where everyone stepped up to him and they had to bring people back, like, you know, your part-timers, your John Cena's, your Brock Lesnar's, your Goldbergs, just to give Roman a credible challenger. It's really starting to tire me out. That's what's happening. But I don't know. If things play out maybe in an interesting way in the coming weeks, now that Vince McMahon is not at the top of the company at the moment because of recent allegations, which I'm not going to get into here because that's a completely new discussion. Look how long this video is already getting. If maybe things play out in a different creative direction now that Vince is gone for a bit, maybe they can bring in like a rank outsider to kind of take him out. Sami Zayn's been getting close to the Bloodline. Maybe he could turn on them. Maybe tonight Riddle will surprise everybody and we'll be looking at Matt Riddle as the undisputed champion. Bro. Could fast track a main roster call up, like maybe Braun Breaker after he loses the NXT title to Apollo Crews. Maybe they kind of push him to the moon and make him, because after all, Roman Reigns got pushed down everybody's throats. Braun Breaker could, you know, but like he'd be doing us a service in my opinion. So I wouldn't be booing him if he took the belt off Reigns. It'd be something different. Or, you know, just play it safe and wait for Cody to come back and win the Royal Rumble and have him face Roman at WrestleMania. Which, that's probably, I'm not against that idea, but at the same time, that would mean that for 3 years in a row, at 3 different WrestleManias, Roman Reigns has walked in as champion and hasn't lost barely any matches. And I think that's the damning part of it all, is that at the end of the day, Roman's the one benefiting while everyone else is kind of suffering because, again, you can't make a convincing story if somebody doesn't take a fall once in a while. Like, good for Roman Reigns, but for everybody he's kind of interacting with in this storyline, it's not really working out for them, because how are we supposed to get invested if Roman Reigns has not lost clean at all? How are we supposed to get invested? Because, you know, I'm lost for words because, you know, this whole thing. Like, I get you want to build an undefeatable villain to make the payoff even bigger. Like, Thanos was, why am I comparing WWE to Marvel? But Thanos was a big bad in the MCU, right? He was built up for multiple stages, and he was kind of undefeated and everything. But Thanos also had his shortcomings. He had his, like, moments of weakness. Roman Reigns has had none. He's had nothing. He's not a human. He's a corporate manufactured machine. So either maybe start giving him a little bit more moments of weakness and dissension between the bloodline to make it believable, kind of keep people on their seats. Because if you constantly keep Roman Reigns as this top guy, people are going to start tuning out, because what's the point? Nobody's going to have a chance. Now, I'm not saying keep Roman Reigns a champion for 8 years like Bruno Sammartino. Don't do that, because that would be stupid. But this video's gone on long enough, guys, so I'm going to wrap it up here. Until next time, bullhammer the subscribe button and make sure to hit that bell to stay notified. I've been Trent from Last Man Standing. I'll see you guys very soon.